Hey guys, this is HerO from DifferenceInSkill, bringing you guys another episode of HerO Plays Randoms on Beyond. This game is going to be me using Galahad Royal Paladin versus his Tsukuyomi deck, so it's going to be the Battle of the Ride Chain. As you can see, he has the Daigo avatar, which is kind of cool actually. Didn't know that they had that. I'm using my Misaki avatar as per usual, so my hand's pretty good, you know. I have Pongal, so that's basically my grade 3. I have Blaster Blade, and Akane as grade 2s, and I have Toy Pugil and the Galahad as my grade 1s. Just in case I don't get the right chain off. So, just mulling his hand. And sorry this episode took so long, because I know since the first one got 20 likes, I was supposed to upload a second one. But Beyond was dealing with lag and whatnot, and it was kind of hard to play. And there's still some lag on this episode, but it's a lot more playable than it was before. So yeah, I'm just gonna wait for him to finish mulling. And so like I said, this is Galahad Royal Paladin. It's the next deck that I want to play at qualifiers. I've gone from wanting to play Goku to playing Spike Brothers to playing Lawkeeper and now Royal Paladin because I'm extremely indecisive. And alright, so finally starting Vanguard. I rolled I rolled a 4 and he rolled a 6, so he goes first. He binds cards to check for the grade 1 Tsukuyomi, just Battle of the Ride Chains. So this matchup is actually I think what we'll see a fair amount at qualifiers. We'll be seeing Tsukuyomi, extremely popular deck because of the ride chain, because of the playstyle, because of the who plays it in the anime, and then you have Durangal, Galahad Paladins, which is another popular deck, of course, because it's Royal Paladins. It's consistent, and in my opinion, there's actually no reason to not run Durangal. I see a lot of people saying it's like I don't like the Galahad lineup, so I'm just gonna play Stardust Trumpeter. I would rather take a potential +2 over a guaranteed -1 any day. I don't see why that would be a bad thing, and I don't see how 7k Vanilla's boosters and 9k attackers are a bad thing either. So, but who am I to judge? So I'm checking for the top 5 for the grade 1 Galahad, and I don't get it because I'm not as skilled as him. So I return triggers first. I return triggers first because that's my that's like something I do with Tsukuyomi, and I played Tsukuyomi a lot, so I automatically, just when I put stuff back to the deck, I put in the triggers first. So I'm just gonna go for the greedy play here, putting the Marin up, so I can swing at him for extra damage. Because for Tsukuyomi, if he takes you to the late game, then it's gonna be a pretty uphill battle. So I want to rush him for damage as much as possible. But he got a draw trigger, a heal trigger, so I'm gonna have to get a trigger to overpass him, his power, and be able to hit. And he's not gonna guard. And I do check a critical trigger because I'm really good at this game. So I've dealt 3 damage on my first turn, which is pretty damn good. And so yeah, he gets a crit trigger, and then another crit trigger. Alright, so 2 crit triggers and a heal trigger, skillfully sniped out by those attacks. So yeah, at this point I'm doing pretty well. So the grade 2 ride for Tsukuyomi is one of the more important ones, mostly because of its soul charging 2 ability. If you don't get the grade 2, but let's say you manage to soul charge it via, let's say red eye, or some other way, you're still gonna have an uphill battle trying to get up the extra 2 soul that you need in order to be able to use Full Moon's drawing ability. So this grade 2 ride is pretty important, and he misses it. So at this point, I'm feeling pretty good because, and you should too if you play against this deck at qualifiers or whatever. You should be feeling pretty good if they miss their grade 2 ride. That's why I said I hope it's in your hand, because if you're not, then you're playing an uphill battle, because Tsukuyomi's advantage comes from being able to cycle through the deck real quick, be able to draw cards, and be able to take advantage of stuff of the stack of triggers that they have. And if that's not available to them, then their whole winning image of the deck is basically gone. So here he calls 2 Toms, appears to be the only 2 grade 2s that he had, and he attacks. I damage check Palamedes, and he gets a crit trigger, and I damage check another Palamedes, and at this point I'm like, oh my god, both Palamedes. Well, I run 3 in this deck, but yeah, seriously, 2 Palamedes in my damage zone, that's not where they should be. So yeah, at this point I check for the grade 2, for the grade 2 ride, and I do get it, luckily. I do get it, and I get 2 of them actually, so I can just ride twice. No, you can't ride twice. But yeah, the rest are triggers, which should have been nice to check, but nothing I can do about that. Deck's going to be shuffled anyways because I'm about to use Pongal because I don't have a grade 3 in my hand. But thanks to Royal Paladin's complete versatility, I'll be able to get Pongal to my hand. Easy peasy, squeezy lemons. Lemon squeezy. So I get that to my hand, and at this point I think I'm doing pretty well. Now here I hesitated, calling the Pongal behind the Vanguard, just in case he manages to get Tsukuyomi off. I didn't want to be able to be forced to swing for 20 on his Vanguard. Although Pongal actually is, pretty easy to get rid of, just counterblast one and whatnot. I didn't want to rely on one counterblast, especially when I have a Blaster Blade and Akane in my hand. So I just got one for the Toipugal instead with the +1 from the Akane, so that's still pretty good. I'm going to swing for 15, and then the Akane on the side swing for 16. So far, pretty decent numbers. And eventually, once I get grade 3s out, then that Toipugal will be a 9k booster. So I go for the rear guard Silent Tom. He just needs a 10k to block, and he gives it to me. And at this point, he's at 4 damage, and he has 3 critical triggers in his damage zone. So he's at 4 damage, and at this point, if I got him 4 damage before he rode to grade 3, I'm pretty happy about it. I'm especially happier to the fact that he rode a 10k Vanguard. Even though, well, you have Blaster Blade and Toipugal comes for 15, etc. So at this point, I'm feeling good. He has a 10k Vanguard. He's at 4 damage before I rode to grade 3, so he's gonna have to guard everything from here on out. He's had no method of gaining any advantage. And at this point, I was about to guard for 10, and it's like 1 to pass. But then I realized the CEO gains 4k, so it'll be a 14k on my 9k. So I was about to majorly misplay there, but it's no big deal. I realized it myself. Then he gets a heal trigger. Heals the heal trigger. Bro, I heard you like heal triggers. So yeah, I draw into my Alfred, which is really good. I'm glad I drew into Alfred because that means that my Toipugals will be 19. Will be 9k boosters. So I'm really glad I drew into that Alfred. And I'll be checking for the grade 3 Galahad here, even though I don't run it in this deck. I need to check anyways. An easier way that I should have done this is just look at the top card of my deck and just keep putting them at the bottom because it doesn't really matter what they are because I don't run the grade 3. But I did it anyways this way. You can tell a little bit of lag there. And just gotta put the Alfred back. See, I'm glad I drew into that Alfred. It's really useful. I also can set up 18k columns with the Alfred and the Marin, and then I have the 9k Toipugal and the 9k Blaster Blade on the side for 18k as well. So that Silent Tom is good as dead, and at this point, that's my biggest worry, that Silent Tom, that powered up Silent Tom is going to start to just completely destroy me, not be able to guard, etc. So that these 19k columns I'm setting up are making me feel pretty good. Swing for 22 on CEO. He's not gonna guard, or maybe he does. Yep, he's not gonna guard. He's at 3 damage, so there's really no reason to guard. And I drive critical trigger because I'm really good at this game. I crit on the Vanguard. I put the power on the Alfred, and I'm a heal trigger because I'm also really good at this game. And I put the power on the Blaster Blade. I split the powers because you guys know. Splitting the powers is good because if I put everything on Alfred, then I just need 20, and then the Blaster Blade you need 10, so that's only 3 cards. But if I put 1 on each, so he requires 15k to guard each, then that's a guaranteed 4 cards. But in this case, you got a trigger, so he only really needs a 10k for the Blaster Blade, which he's going to guard, of course, because it's 5 damage. I'm going to swing for 23 on that Silent Tom, because at this point, I didn't attack the Amaterasu because he would only need a 10k block, and that's not a lot. And I'm at 3 damage, so 1 critical trigger can land me at. I'm not going to guard most likely next turn the Amaterasu attack unless I can guard for 10 for 2 to pass. Because I'm at 3 damage, then I'm pretty safe in terms of not being double critted, etc. Double crits do happen, but the chances of that are much slimmer. So I'm just going to conserve cards in my hand. I'm not going to take the next attack, but he might get a critical trigger, so just in case I can't guard the Tom, I'm going to take out the Tom just to be safe. So yeah, so right now he has 4 critical triggers in his damage zone, and he has, I believe, 2 in his drop zone, or 1 in his drop zone. 1 in his drop zone? I'm not sure, but yeah, he has a lot of critical triggers in his drop in his damage zone. So at this point, I'm like, okay, well, he appears to be running 8 crit. Even though I haven't seen any draws, I've only seen 2 types of crits. So at this point, I'm even pretty safe from even 1 crit. So yeah, he calls up the Neva White Rabbit behind the Amaterasu. So that's going to be swinging for 20k. So even more reason to just take the Vanguard attack. He's going to swing for 12 on... He doesn't even have the 6 soul and trying to use Faithful Angel's effect. Faithful Angel's effect, for those of you who don't know, is when this card attacks and you have 6 or more soul, you can draw a card and put one from your hand to the bottom of the deck. So it's good for cycling your deck, but it's 7k power, so it's pretty bad. I would rather use Blue Eye, because then behind Tsukuyomi, swings for 16, etc. So, but yeah, in this case, he puts the White Rabbit behind. And then I take back some guarding here. I intercept with the Blaster Blade for the second attack, and then guard with something else, third attack or something. Because I think I guarded with the Pongal originally, but I wanted to keep that because I have a good back row right now, and I do have with the Pongal I have 5 soul already, so I'll be able to perfectly well just finish him off in the next turn or so. And I drew into a Paladins because I'm really good at this game, and that just sets up a 22k column. So yeah, so I'm just swinging for 22, bashing him for 22. He's gonna have perfect guard this, I believe. Should have a perfect guard in his hand. Yeah, you see guys, this lag, it was like twice as worse before. That's why this episode is so delayed. Alright, so he does perfect guard, and I get absolutely no triggers. Okay, so he perfect guards, drops his full moon Tsukuyomi, so I have no triggers. So I attack with the weaker one first, just in case. So the reason why you should attack with the weaker attack first against a 5 damage opponent is because if he gets a critical trigger, if he gets a heal trigger, if he can't guard and he gets a heal trigger, then that means that your weaker attack that didn't attack is going to be even easier to guard than if you attack with the weaker one first and then attack with the 22k, because the 22k requires 15k to block. So you attack with that first and he gets a heal trigger, then the 18k only requires a 5k to block. Which, if I attack with the weaker one first and he gets a heal trigger, then he still needs 10k to block the 22k column. So, yeah. So he drops the rest of his hand in order to guard Paladins, because Paladins is a good card, guys. Paladins is a good card. So yeah, so I see the draw triggers there, so I'm for sure certain that he's only running 8 crit, and he already has half of them in his damage zone, so I'm not too worried. One thing that I didn't mention when you're playing against Tsukuyomi, I didn't mention it because it didn't really happen in this game, but against Tsukuyomi you have to be pretty sure. Like, you have to count their stack along with them. You have to know when they're getting to their stack, because if you miscount and then you say, okay, no guard, he's only like 2 cards away, and then you get double critted and then you lose because you didn't guard, then yeah. Here I overguard by like 10k because I didn't want to lose, A, and B, I knew he was dead because I had the Soul Saver in my hand ready to go. He's gonna need 20k for the Paladins column, 20k for my Vanguard, and for no triggers, and 15k for my right column. So I know that he's like pretty dead at this point. He's pretty dead. So that's why I overguarded, because there was basically you would have to get at least 2 heal triggers in order to survive. So I'm swinging for 27 here. There's no way he's going to be able to guard that. I get no triggers because I'm a boss, but and he gets guess it, a critical trigger. That's right, a critical trigger in his damage zone. So yeah, when you guys are playing against Tsukuyomi, you have to know where their stack is at. You have to count along with them. You have to keep track if they got the ride or not, because that changes the amount of cards that they have to go through to get the to get to their stack. So yeah, so that's that game. And the second game I have here is here we go. The second game I have here is I played Dragonic Overlord the End versus this guy, and because I'm an asshole, and so yeah, I mean he's playing Pale Moon, he's playing set 3 Pale Moon, And I look at my hand, so I'm like, oh, it's pretty good. You know, I put in the back, put the Draco Kid and the heal trigger, whatever that was, and then I draw them back naturally. Oh no, I got a grade one. So I got my Barbie, I got my Burning Horn, I got my Dragonic Overlord. So far so good. So far so good. So I apologize beforehand to him because I'm running the end for the deck I'm playing because and he says why? Oh, you innocent little boy. Okay, so yeah, I apologize to him for running the end because I'm sorry, but the end is it's not fair. So he is running Hades Ringmaster, and I draw into the end. Oh god, I felt so bad drawing into the end. So I'm pretty much set to go here. I got a pretty decent hand. I had to ride Bari, but you know, no big deal. 13k Vanguards, you don't need no perfect guards. Well, actually they do, but yeah. So anyways, yeah, this game took a while if I remember correctly. Yeah, this game took a while. So he rides Midnight Bunny, Soul Charges, Spiral Master, which is a draw trigger. He attacks with the Midnight Bunny alone. Now at this point I could give him the 10k, but I didn't because I wanted to get something with Conroe, I think, or something. I don't even know. So I topped it in Harlem, which is pretty good. I don't really want to ride Burning Horn because I'd rather have Burning Horn when I ride Draconic Overlord, swing for 12 by itself, or 20 with a bar. So I'm glad I topped that in Harlem, ride them in Harlem. I get a bar with the Conroe. I don't know why I was such a hurry to get that, but that's fine. It's not a big deal. So I swing for 9 on the bunny, and he's not gonna guard, and he gets absolutely nothing. And then I swing for 18. I mean, he's obviously not going to guard that. It's a 7k Vanguard, and I check absolutely nothing. So great. Oh, no, he gets a heal trigger, so that's a good play on him. Good play. So that's heal trigger number 1 that he gets. I'm going to keep count because if I remember correctly, he gets a shit ton of triggers this game. Alright, so he stands, he draws, and he's going to ride, what's going to ride? He rides Elephant Juggler, so that's pretty good for him. So Elephant Juggler is when it's in the Vanguard circle. It's a 9k grade 2. Whenever you call something, you can Soul Charge 1. So first turn, you try to, if you have an Elephant Juggler in your hand, first turn you're trying not to call anything because you want to save everything for turn 2 when you can start calling everything, and then suddenly Elephant Juggler will let you Soul Charge like 3 to 4 cards in that turn, which is pretty good because in Pale Moon, especially if you're running Beast Tamer, you want to Soul Charge as much as possible because the more you Soul Charge, the higher the chance you get of Soul Charging a Crimson Beast Tamer, for example. So he gets a crit trigger, and that's kind of good. And then I damage check the end. I need that. So yeah, I damage check the end. So he's 21 on my since we're 21 on Burning Horn, I check his soul just in case he can like call something out, like a 10k beater or something that he had in there. And I said sure. I gave it to him. He's gonna counterblast 1 for Mirror Demon's effect. And at this point, it doesn't really matter if he hits or not. I mean, it's 21k. It's not worth it for me to throw down 15k just so he can't call out something. And I mean, Mirror Demon, and he had a Bicorn behind him, so that's a 16k column. And for 2 turns, it's going to be pretty decent. So it's really not that big of a deal. He's going to call a Midnight Bunny out from his soul. But that's all he can, because everything else was like triggers. So, I mean, it doesn't really matter for me. So I stand, I draw, I ride the end. I mean, sorry, I ride, not yet. I ride Dragonic Overlord. And, so here with Kimnara, at this point, now I want to know what you guys would kill. Would you guys kill the bunny or the left bicorn or the middle bicorn? I ended up killing the bicorn behind the Vanguard. Now my reasoning for that is because I want to create holes in his field. If I kill the bicorn behind the Vanguard, he's going to have to call a booster behind his Vanguard, or else I'm just simply guarding for 10 for 2 triggers. Vanguard for 10, and that's really really good. That allows me to keep a lot of advantage. So so by killing the booster behind the Vanguard, I mean I can see also that with Elephant Juggler he called like most of his boosters. He called 2, and in a 4-card hand, I mean the chance of hitting another booster is pretty slim. And there you go. He didn't have the booster, so I'm guarding the Vanguard for 5k actually. That's not too to pass because it's my Vanguard is 11 and his Alice is 10. So so I can just give him a 5k and I'm guarding the Vanguard. So I mean that's kind of good. That allows me to keep advantage. So he checks Dark Metal Bicorn and he checks a draw trigger, put the power on the Mirror Demon. and he draws his card. So the Mirror Demon is swinging for 21. Now at this point, once again, it's not really worth it for me to guard for 15k. I can just let him have this, and then he has the Elephant Juggler in his soul, which is the only thing he can really call. And I get a draw trigger, so even better for me. So he's just gonna call the Elephant Juggler, and that's just gonna be a 5k block. But in this case, I believe I'd give him 10k because I don't really want to give him the air mode because I don't have any other boosters. So yeah, he's gonna counterblast one, put the Mirror Demon in the soul, and he's gonna take out the Elephant Juggler. Eventually, it's not like he has a lot to choose from. He's been soul charging mostly triggers, mostly draw triggers. So he's gonna call the Elephant Juggler eventually, and it's gonna be a 5k block. But I have to give him 10, but that's not big of a deal. And I also have that 2 counterblast open in order to be able to Persona Blast with the end if I can. Pardon me. So he calls out, he calls out Hungry Clown. Oh, excuse me, guys. Calls out Hungry Clown when it hits Soul Charge, so I'm not going to let him do that. I just guard for 10. So now I ride the end. And, yeah. It looks like it's the end for him. So I swing for 21, because, you know, the end's a good card. So he no guards. So I get a heal trigger, and I was debating putting everything on the Vanguard. And then I drive check the end. And then I was like, oh man, here we go. So I'm like, okay, the end skill, Persona Blast. It's only going to be 13k instead of 18k, but oh well, what can you do, right? It's not like I can drive check 2 more times. Oh wait, and he says you can't, but little does he know that I just checked the Draconic Overlord at the end, So I'm swinging for 13 on his 10k Vanguard. He's going to guard for 1 to pass, and in my opinion, if you're going to guard for 1 to pass, you might as well just not guard at all, especially when you're only at 3. I mean, at 3 damage, what's going to happen? I don't have the Counterblast open for me to be able to Persona Blast again, so there's really no point in guarding for 1 to pass when you're at 3. That's just a waste of a card, and I end up going out over him anyways. I get a draw trigger, put everything on the Vanguard, the attacks go through, and then I get a critical trigger, I put the crit on the Vanguard, and then I put the power on the Nahalem. So then I'm swinging for a ridiculous 26k. And at this point, you know, I'm playing the end. I'm at a 13k Vanguard, and I just drove check 4 times, and I got 3 triggers out of 4. So I'm feeling pretty good. So he perfect guards my Nahalem. Unless I don't. There's really no point to that because 4 or 5 damage, it doesn't really matter. If he had the perfect guard in his hand, then it's not like he would have gambled next turn at 4 damage and then just let me hit. You guys know what I'm saying? Like sometimes if I have to guard for 15 against a Vanguard that would normally I would have to guard for 20 in order for me to be able to be safe for 1 trigger. For example, like if a Soul Savior by Marin or something, a 21k. I would guard for 15 if I'm at 4 damage. Well, it's depending on the situation. I would guard for 15 at 4 damage, and then next turn, gamble that he doesn't get a crit trigger and kill me. So, but if he has a perfect guard, then what's the point of guarding the Nahalem? Like 4 or 5 damage doesn't really matter if he has a perfect guard in his hand. But anyways, I'm not gonna say anything more. So I hit the Nahalem. I get to air mold that Gatling Cloud in my hand. I draw into a Berserk Dragon, which is, you know, kind of good. So finally, he's at 5 damage, stands and draws. I mean, he's had to ride Alice this whole time, and he's had Alice as his Vanguard. So he's basically had a vanilla 10k Vanguard this whole time. So I'm gonna swing for 15 on my Nahalem. I'm just gonna guard that for 10 easy. I'm not gonna let him do anything. So I'm gonna swing for 18 on my 13k Vanguard, which was a little annoying, kind of sad. But I'm at 3 damage, so I don't guard. There's no point. And he just checks 2 Elephant Jugglers, which kind of sucks for him. And I check a Kimnara. I could have used that Kimnara. I would have liked to be able to kill some of those Bicorns. Oh, and then he says that he didn't hit the Vanguard. He actually hit my Nahalem with the Vanguard. And at this point, like, I know he's scared of the end's Persona Blast, and I would be too, but he's at 5 damage. If the Persona Blast hits, then he's dead. So there was no need to hit my rear guard with the Vanguard, especially when he's hitting with good numbers, like 18k on a 13k Vanguard. So there's really no reason for him to want to hit the rear guard. Like, like he's at 5 damage. What's gonna happen? I'm gonna Persona Blast and then nothing because he's dead. So yeah, I think that was a bit of a misplay. He should have just attacked the Vanguard. I mean, is he gonna leave me at 3 damage forever? Like, there's no point. So I call the Berserk. It's the only other attacker I have. I'm swinging for 15, so you know, on a 10k Vanguard, that's pretty good. He has 4 cards in his hand. He has a perfect guard, so he perfect guards the end. And I get a crit. Put the power and crit on the Berserk. And I get a bar. So right now I'm swinging for 20k. Crit 2 on his 10k Vanguard with only 3 cards in his hand. So I'm going to force out at least 2. So it's pretty good. He's going to have 1 card left in his hand. So he's going to put out the Elephant Juggler, which is one of the many that he checked. And the Popcorn Boy. So that's 15. So that's 2 cards away from his hand. So at this point, basically I'm playing with 2 columns this whole game. And I'm such at a huge advantage because the end is stupid. So he's going to swing with the Alice on the Berserk Dragon by itself. I kind of need that Berserk Dragon because I don't have any other attackers. I'm going to swing for 18 on the Vanguard finally, which we should have done in the first place, but because he didn't deal any damage last turn, I can once again safely, or with a low risk, not guard the Vanguard attack because I'm only at 3 damage. Had he dealt that 4th damage last turn, I would have probably had to guard. I would have had to give him a Bari or something in fear of that critical trigger. But because he didn't deal any damage last turn, I'm still at 3 damage, and at this point I can just take it. I can just take everything. And so yeah, he's gonna attack my Berserk for 15, and I kind of need that. Kind of need that Berserk. Don't want to kill it. Don't want to let it die. Pardon me. So I just give him 20 because I'm just like, who cares? I can just give him 20 easy. So I call the bar, and the bar's gonna put him some it's gonna put in some work for me. He's gonna attack that 8k Mirror Demon. So 21 on the Vanguard once again. Only have one counter blast, so I can Persona Blast if I wanted to. So he's gonna give me it's gonna give me 20k, 15k, 15k. There's 2 cards left in his hand. 1. So he's gonna give me 15k. I need 1 trigger to pass. And I check a bar and an Eremo, so I didn't get anything. So that's well played by him. I mean, he knows how much he needs to guard, and if he says that, okay, well, if he gets a trigger, I'm going to lose anyways, then I might as well just give him minimum, right? Minimum guard. And that's the right play. So I attack 15 on the Alice. Now, some people are going to ask, why not on the Vanguard? Well, because that Alice is annoying, and he has a lot of counterblast open, and I don't know what he's capable of doing if I let him hit. So, well, I do, actually, but I just don't want to let him hit. He's actually going to give me the last 2 cards in his hand to guard for that Alice. So thank you. So yeah, he stands, draws. He has these holes in his field that he needs to fill. He's either going to have an empty row with no booster and an empty row with no attacker. So he has these holes that were created by me simply, you know, picking off the right stuff. So I'm going to swing for 18 on the Vanguard, and here I'm going to give him a Bari. I'll gladly give him a Bari there. I'm at 4 damage, and I have plenty of cards in my hand, plenty of guard in my hand. No problem. He reveals no triggers, and he's going to attack the Alice 15k on the Berserk, I believe. Yep. And I'm just going to give him a 10k. It's an easy 10k guard. Kind of need that Berserk Dragon anyways. And yeah, at this point, he has 3 cards in his hand. He has 3 cards in his hand. And I know for a fact that there are no more than 20k, and he needs 20k for this alone. And so yeah, 21 on the Vanguard. He's not gonna guard. He's gonna be able to guard. Can't even guard if he wanted to. I got no triggers, but it doesn't matter because he just checks a market service. So yeah, this was episode 2 of HerO Plays Randoms on Beyond. If you guys see me on Beyond, then don't just feel free to challenge me to a game. And yeah, guys, that's it. Thank you guys for watching. HerO is out.